Daniel, we're here.
We are.
How are
Hello.
you?
Good. Only two of us today.
Yeah, Alex can't make it, and I think he said he won't be around Sunday either, which is tough. I think there's a Grand Prix this weekend too, so schedules might be a bit icky.
It's okay. We
Icky.
understand. He's a top man
Top
with the
man,
Varsity Blues.
company man, top man. Love to
Yes.
see it. Love to see it. He's gone full UFT with us, and I don't know how to feel about it, Daniel. It feels like he's betrayed the cause.
The cause.
I'm the only
But I was
person
at U
left
of T
because I was
before
left.
we
Yeah,
the podcast.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
You went there, so it's even just I don't know. I don't know if I can keep doing the show with you guys. I feel betrayed,
I know.
honestly.
We saw those Alex, if you're listening to this, we saw those highlights you were posting,
Yeah,
those Varsity Blues highlights. There weren't any Leaf highlights in those Instagram
you,
stories.
you traitor. How dare you? Okay. Hockey, there's a lot going on. There's a good bit of stuff going around the league. The season's in full swing. We'll talk about this is what we're going to talk about today. Habs wise, the Detroit game, the Slavkovsky hit. Josh Anderson's also suspended. That's unfortunate. The Vegas game for the Leafs, Matt Murray might be back soon. Samsonov injury stuff coming out. Beside that, Jim Rutherford keeps thinking out loud. A freak injury with Evander Kane at Edmonton. A quick fantasy check-in to see how things are going. Chris Neal's number is getting retired by the Sens. Ovi versus Sid tonight. Fun fact, we'll get to that a little later. And Ryan Reynolds went to a Sens game last night, got it standing out, and they blew it. But to first start, Daniel, I think we got to do the most important story really of the week. I believe the initial announcement was Friday. And then on Monday, I believe it was Monday, the Bruins announced that they were parting ways with Mitchell Miller. Now, first things first, a lot has sort of come out of this. Recently, his agent, Eustace Kidd, actually did an interview on the Cam and Stick podcast. I've actually listened to a good bit of it. He also Mitchell Miller is still technically a Bruin. Actually, we can get into the details of that in a second because it's might be some
Legally, yeah.
complications. Something about Logan Mayu I want to mention a little later because there were suddenly some details about him that came out of Bill Daly today. Um, First off, though, something really groundbreaking actually came out today from all of this, and I think I want to go to it first because it's actually a statement from Isaiah Meyer-Crothers. And I believe this was via the HDA, which was very cool to see. We forgot to mention this last episode. Apparently, Joel Ward of the HDA just called Isaiah's mom, just called her more than the Bruins did, which I thought was pretty interesting. So I'm going to read his statement. This is from the HDA, the Hockey Diversity Alliance's Twitter account, so you can find it. I remember I went to lunch at work and like, so this has happened. The statement below is in Isaiah's own words. Some passages have been lightly edited for brevity and clarity. I am Isaiah Meyer-Crothers. I would like to make a statement. I had been bullied since I was in first grade. There were not many black kids in my school. I was called Brownie and the N word. Kids said my black mom and dad didn't love me, and that's why I had white parents. Mitchell, obviously referring to Mitchell Miller, used to ask me to sit with him on the bus, and then he and his friends would punch me in the head. This happened my whole time in school. When I went to junior high, Mitchell would spit in my face and call me the N word. I stopped telling because they called me a snitch, and I would get made fun of. I had to say I was his N word. To sit at his table, and he made me clean the whole table. He threw food in my face. I was called N word every day. The office would tell me to stay away from him because he wasn't my friend. Once he got expelled from school, his friends started bullying me. He pretended to be my friend and made me do things I didn't want to do. In junior high, I got beat up by him. Everyone thought he was cool, but I don't see how someone can be cool when you pick on someone and bully someone your entire life. Middle of October, I was being texted constantly every day till I answered a Snapchat and IG message from Mitchell Miller. He asked me why I always have my parents doing stuff for me and why I can't speak for myself. I told him I don't care what my parents say, I'm old enough to speak for myself. He told me he was sorry and that the apology didn't involve hockey. He told me he was doing stuff in the community and helping the youth and wanted to be my friend. I told him, quote, that's all cool, but where is the proof, though? He didn't give me any proof, obviously. All the lies I have been told from him for so many years, I don't believe what Mitchell told me. He kept asking me to be his friend and that he had changed over the years from what he did. I told him, I'm not going to be your friend after all you did to me. I am now getting messages on social media from people calling me a slow R word, a few other things I can't say, the stupid N word, saying that I need help. Mitchell isn't my friend. It hurts my heart what he did to me. So I just wanted to tell everyone when Mitchell says we're friends, it isn't true. I can't take more of this. This is obviously important because we have not heard from Isaiah this entire time. Going back to when he was drafted from the Coyotes, it's all been from his mom. Um, Now, it's important that we mention the thing of friends. Eustace King, Mitchell Miller's agent, who we read that statement, I believe, at the end of last show, and some stuff came out since then. So Linda, that's a bit different. And in that, the Cam and Stick podcast had mentioned that Miller and Isaiah have a relationship now. The whole interview, honestly, is actually quite awkward to listen to. And Isaiah's basically sort of, I think, called them on this. I haven't even mentioned the fact that Cam Neely in that apologized to Isaiah, but as of later the day that he was quote unquote released Mitchell Miller, Fluto Shinzawa of The Athletic did an interview with Joni, Isaiah's mother, and they still haven't called her. I think since then they did have a conversation. But anyway, just sort of catching everyone up as to what's happened here. Going to Isaiah's statement first and foremost. I don't know what to say, Daniel. Our whole thing on this podcast is to come here and break down. And we're a reactionary podcast. We react to the news and all that. And I always preach about perspective is so important. I can't begin to put myself in Isaiah's shoes and all that. Hearing that statement, hearing him for the first time in all of this, I just, what stood out to me a lot in that statement, Daniel? How he said Mitchell asked, "Why does everything go through your mom?" That felt like a bit of a dig, as in like you know what I mean? That felt like Mitchell, like, why are you always getting your mom? Like I didn't like that. I didn't like that Mitchell would say that to him.
I mean, a counterpoint too is a lot of the journalists have been pointing out Mitchell Miller's dad. He's been retweeting a bunch of stuff about Mitchell Miller, he's been commenting.
Yep.
It's the same thing. Parents are involved.
Well, it seems to be like at every turn, again, apple doesn't fall from the tree. It feels like there's not accountability from Mitchell's side of the family. He's conveniently forgetting that they are like what did you expect her to do? Of course she's going to stand up for her child, as you pointed out. Like his family is standing up for him. First off, I want to give shout outs to the HDA. And getting that. Again, they did more than the Bruins have in how many days of getting this sorted.
It's Wednesday and he was released Monday. Mitchell Miller, which
is ridiculous. It's funny that it's not. I shouldn't say funny. Excuse me. It's a tad ridiculous that the Bruins put out that statement and the apology before contacting the family too. That again, as of an hour after they released Mitchell, again, hadn't heard from them. And we had that from Fluto Shinzawa. Like that's sort of what really stands out. I don't know how, and I was listening to Jeff Merrick and Jeff Merrick show and bits with Elliot Friedman from Tuesday, and Elliot sort of echoed the Eustace King stuff. And Elliot Friedman, I think, has been getting a lot of heat lately. I don't know if you've been seeing it, but like it feels like Eustace King has been extremely misleading in these statements. We talked about the Carnegie stuff. The Carnegie Initiative, since we recorded last, came out and said, well, we haven't actually worked with Mitchell Miller. There was another organization that said they did meet with him and they did work with him. Again, we don't know what was court issued. There is this thing going around on Twitter saying it's a court document. I'm not going to say for sure what exactly that is because it's from random people on Twitter and I don't trust it. Especially now that verification is a total mess. It's very hard to see what's real. But Eustace King and all of this, and again, in this interview, Daniel, I don't know if you've heard any of it, but he talks about like, well, in court of law, this happened and 25-hour community service. It felt very lawyer speak where it felt emotionally like death. Yeah, I don't know how we're in a scenario where in all this Gary Bettman has sounded the most human of all the executives involved. That's how bad this is.
Yeah. And okay, listen, there's two things I'd like to point out here. We're getting a lot of new information the last few days regarding Mitchell Miller, regarding he didn't apologize. It's very spotty that we don't know what the real community service or the work he's been doing to be a better person. None of it's very really verified. We're getting different responses, and it's kind of just in a way word vomit where we're getting the Bruins statements, and first they said isolated incident, and then now they're trying to wipe their hands clean from this. And listen, you had to like when we had this Mitchell Miller story going on the first time with the Coyotes, you had what 2 years
Mm-hmm.
to verify any of this before you gave him a contract. You had that much time, and it's just not from the journalist perspective, but an actual just a hockey fan or an informed citizen looking at the news. You couldn't get any of these facts or verify with Isaiah's mother, for example, the biggest thing you probably should have, or verify with Isaiah in that last 2 years. Like, why am I hearing about this just, it's Wednesday. It's not even, the week's not even done.
Two things, Daniel. First off, don't forget the Bruins spent time with Isaiah. Sorry, not
Mm-hmm.
Isaiah, with Mitchell Miller. I can't remember if they said it was a few weeks or a few months. I think it was a few weeks. Like they even had him in the city. So you didn't sort of push it that time. And again, you mentioned we knew it wasn't an isolated incident when the Coyote stuff happened.
Yeah.
And again, what the HDA has really pushed, and what Isaiah in his statement has pushed is, again, it's the racist part of this. Is everyone talks about the lollipop incident? I think that's easily the sort of
The most heart-wrenching one.
gruesome details of it. But then when you hear But then you sort of hear Isaiah's statement there, and you see all the names he was called, and then the way he was treated, and then it just when you again, we don't have a face to it, but when you have the voice, when you have the person's words, remember how powerful it was when Kyle Beach came out and did that interview?
Mm-hmm.
Remember how insane it was, and sort of how I remember watching it. I remember we were in a Zoom call all together. We postponed before recording the podcast because the interview was happening. I remember crying listening to it. And sort of, I don't get how the Bruins just thought they were going to get away with it, and sort of, and Mitchell Miller, who at all of this, so he did apologize, right? He did 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
2 weeks ago.
Because he knew he was going to get signed.
And on top of that, you sort of go to the part of the Bruins made him probably in order to, was probably thinking of you have to apologize. Like it's a child, like, if you want to go to McDonald's, you have to behave type of thing. And the apology, he lied to Isaiah. It's not hockey related. Yes, it was. That's the worst part about this. And I'm getting more and more angry with Eustace Kidd at the same time too, right? Because it feels like he's an enabler in all of this.
He just wants the contract to go through.
If you don't want him to say, he's not lying. Well, if he's not lying, he's misleading. He's being very it's misinformation. Like that's going to ruin his reputation. I don't know his exact client list and everything, and where his agency is in the grand scheme of things, but that's irreversible damage.
Yeah, I agree. I think I don't know. It's just when we've mentioned already, it's like a soft surface level PR move they tried to do, but they didn't get enough of the crucial facts before actually trying it. So that's just the craziest thing for me. And the one thing I did like with the HDA is with Isaiah's statement, with him finally able to, to say his own side of the story of what's going on with all of this, it just cuts through all the BS. And I think that's what was needed, that we get his side of the story. We know what's going on. We just don't get these half ideas or these half answers anymore. And that's something that we did need to really understand. Okay, this is the story. And again, like going back to my other point, that it just showed like the Bruins, what were they doing? If they had Mitchell Miller for weeks, wouldn't you want to ask him, hey, to save face, maybe just for the organization, maybe you should answer the most crucial questions that are surrounding you as a player, as you were as a prospect in 2020.
You know what I wonder, Daniel, is you know what when you read Isaiah's statement, it's more than just sort of. It's nice to have his side of it and his voice attached to it, but it just sort of hit me. It's also very sad because he's clearly not want to come public. Otherwise, he probably would have years ago when Mitchell was first drafted. He's obviously not. We know he's not a public figure in all of this. He's probably wanted to. I believe so. Like it said, like he moved to Detroit and he even has a kid now. Like he probably wants to move on with his life, and everything here is just sort of it's bubbled to the surface to a point where he has felt the need to make a statement. Like that is kind of heartbreaking to hear. And I wonder, I really do, Daniel, if maybe Miller's camp didn't think he would ever say something. Because otherwise,
Bet on
I
it.
don't know
Yeah.
why you would spread, call it lies or like misinformation like that. I wonder if they sort of gambled on the fact that he wasn't going to say anything. I really do. Because again, in that Eustace Thing interview, he mentions the thing of Isaiah's working and if he wanted to meet, him and Mitchell were going to meet up, but Isaiah's job would be late in the hours of the day. And stuff you're listening to, it's like, crap, man, make it work. It's been all these years. Stop making, like, these sound like excuses. And then it's just sort of like, I'm getting angry thinking about it. There's
Yeah,
like, how much of this is really crap? Like, if he is saying flat in this statement, I didn't want to be his friend, and I don't blame him, who would want to be? But how stupid is it that Miller would be like, let's be friends after all of this?
that's messed up.
Like,
That's just so messed up.
Oh,
And like it is, we know this was a pattern of behavior. So for this to drag out again, Isaiah saying that people are messaging him on social media, he's just reliving the trauma right now. And it was already horrible for the Bruins. And in my opinion, it's just going to get worse for them.
so here's what's going on to the part about the contract. So apparently, technically, Mitchell Miller is still a Bruin.
Yeah, legally, because
So
he's going to get paid probably.
So he has a signing bonus. So he's probably been paid that. So, and for the love of me, I think this was on Insider Trading. I can't remember which TSM reporter said it, but it was on Insider Trading. And they talked about maybe they would have to buy him out in the offseason because they can't technically terminate the contract because what the PA would say is, hey there, what technically changed between giving him the contract on Friday to Monday?
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, Daniel, we can sit here and obviously, like, that's the sort of, and the precedent that the PA would argue, beside the fact they would have to represent a player because it's the union, would be they also have to stop the idea that in the future the NHL can just void a contract for no discernible reason. Now, again, like, I am not. Remember last week I thought I said, like, shut up, the PA. Like, we don't. I get it's your job, but it still made me gross to see how quickly they responded to this. But because of that, the Bruins are probably going to have to buy him out, which is he's going to get a significant amount of money.
Yeah.
They're going to be affected because there's going to be a cap hit to it. It's just, I don't know how Don Sweeney or Cam Neely survived this job-wise. I don't know how there isn't pressure put on to make this change.
Honestly, there's going to be the pressure. And I hate to say this. I really hate to say this. But if the Bruins keep playing like they're playing, they're keeping their jobs.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair.
And Charlie McAvoy's coming back.
Yeah, he's expected to play tomorrow. You're right. I just, like, my brother, who isn't the biggest hockey fan, obviously, was texting me. He's like, he was like going about like this player. He's like, what would the coach say? And like, God, he didn't ask the coach, Scott. He's like, what about the players? I'm like, yeah, the players like stood out. It was like, it was like explaining to someone who's not sort of in tune with the league just how crazy this whole situation is.
It's crazy. We're in tune. I think we're in tune with the league, and we got half of the information that's actually crucial to what's going on.
So listen, we were very vocal on this podcast about how the media were covering the stuff around Kyle Beach at the time. I like Elliot Friedman. You know that. I think all three of us
Yeah,
do.
we like him.
After the Kyle Beach stuff, he said he was going to make a better effort to sort of cover this up because he is the hockey insider, the hockey reporter, right?
Yeah.
He had that tweet about how he thought the Bruins had done their homework here. Clearly, they haven't.
No.
And on the Merrick show, we had this thing of I don't want to relive the past when talking about Mitchell Miller and all that. I think and instead of like releasing a 32 Thoughts podcast, they released an interview with Patrice Bergeron today. I think Elliot needs to like listen. I think you got to expect more from a guy like him.
Yeah.
Again, I have a lot of respect for a reporter like that and what he's accomplished, but man, like I don't want to say he's on Mitchell Miller's side. I don't think anyone here is, except his family. But I just don't think it's a great look for what should be one of the most trusted people in hockey right now.
Yeah, I agree. I'd like to say that there are several amazing hockey journalists out there that I think everyone should check out. But sometimes for the diehard fans, the casual fans, it's Elliot who you think about as the insider who gets everything. Like we've gone to 32 Thoughts
Yeah.
2-3 times. Yeah. And he has an insane amount of information what's going on around the league. So to kind of just give that blanket statement, that very lukewarm type of thing, it was upsetting too, because it just kind of leaves you at, okay, this is happening and there's not really like a sense of, okay, let's do better next time. It's just more of like, I'm not saying like he said it. It just felt like, all right, that's hockey for you. What are you gonna do?
It's just more needs to be done. More needs to be done. Like I hope he recognizes that. But like come on, Elliot. Come on, man. Like, and he's talked about because obviously Elliot Friedman is Jewish. And I remember on the 32 Thoughts podcast before, he's mentioned some of the horrible sort of DMs he's gotten. Like, he had someone apparently message him saying, like, I wish, like, your family had died in the Holocaust, right? Like, that's awful, right? Like, I hope he sees what Isaiah is saying and or sees what Isaiah is saying, like, getting right now and comes. I'm not saying Elliot Friedman is, like, the level of Mitchell Miller or the Bruins here, but, like, I hope he sort of sees that and sort of says something about it. Again, like, listen, like, come on, Elliot. You're the man. Like, come on now, Elliot. I don't think this is, nearly over this story, Dan.
No, not at all.
But hold on a minute. This is something that Alex mentioned in the group chat that I took a screenshot of, and so I wanted to mention here. He's not here, but he put in the group chat. When we talk about Mitchell Miller stuff next episode, one thing I think we should note is how the players react to this signing compared to the Kyle Beats incidents and how the Blackhawks did it. Bruins players showing how to be actual leaders. You remember at the time, Jonathan Toews was like, remember half the Blackhawks were like, I don't remember that, except like two of them that weren't in the league anymore, saying like, yeah, everyone knew. Yeah. Meanwhile, the Bruins were just like, they were playing Karma Police the day after Miller was released, which was like power move. Like I think at the end of the day, I have a lot more respect for that Bruins locker room.
Yeah.
Again, like obviously, like Patrice Bergeron,
like how can you not like that guy even more now, right?
He's the guy who's always been thought of such a high character dude, but like he really, I think, showed in all of this that he's just sort of on and off the ice. He is like even Brad Marchand talking about it too.
Nick Foligno.
Again, how do you come out of a situation making Brad Marchand look like the best dude ever? And of course, like again, on the ice, Brad Marchand's one of the least likable players in the league. And you have, I don't know, I've never seen such a divide between players in a locker room. It's like the players and like management before like this. But all credit to the Bruins because there were so many times in hockey where players are just like remember when Evander Kane was brought in and then McDavid had like nothing to say about it. And even the Hockey Canada stuff, McDavid had really tone-deaf comments about it.
Or even during his time in Chicago, Duncan Keith, and then when he went
Oh,
to Edmonton, remember he was always viewed
oh.
as the coach's defenseman. Like he was the guy.
Mhm.
And he apologized when he got to Edmonton and said that like he misspoke about knowing what was going on.
Remember, he's like, "Yeah, I'd love to get interviewed." Well, then call them, Duncan. That was brutal. I forgot about Duncan Keith, but I wanted to mention that because Alex, I think, was a really
It
good
was a
point to
good point.
mention.
Thanks, Alex.
So yeah.
It is true because it is the leadership groups between each one where the ones that speak out. You had Jonathan Taves, you had Duncan Keith on one side, and then you had Patrice Bergeron, Brad Marchand on another.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
the contrast there.
Credit to DeBrincat though at the time when he was a Blackhawk and he said it was the right decision. So I will give credit
Mhm.
to him and Nick Foligno with the Bruins too. He was another really guy really talking about it. And at the end of it, let's just again finish the way we started and say like it's horrible for Isaiah and all of this, and I hope that eventually when this is put to bed that he can move on
Mhm.
because like listen right now, I mean, like, it's if he lives in Detroit, that's obviously a pretty important hockey market. So
Mhm.
he's going to see this kind of stuff around. And I can only imagine, like 21. It really hit me like that's he's younger than Alex. Now again,
Mhm.
I'm only a year older than Alex, but like it's really crazy to think just how young he is and just sort of how much he's gone through. I can only imagine sort of like just when he talks about those DMs, just how much he's going through. It's just horrible. Um,
Mhm.
and if you're the people sending that stuff, get help. Like there's something wrong with you. There's something
Yeah.
wrong. If you're like again, if there's stuff you want to fix on Twitter and that, fix that, please. Okay. Again, most important story that we have to talk about, and now we go to sort of the world of hockey. But I will. I was gonna wait until we talk about the Leafs, but I feel like we should talk about it now. So this is from Gold Star Hockey, specifically from Dan Milstein. Rodion Amirov, Leafs prospect, has returned home and is with his family. This is from his Twitter account. Unfortunately, at the moment, Rodion cannot train, and he is going additional treatments. We would like to thank the Leafs and Salat Yulev UFA. I think that's his Russian team. Sorry, I can't pronounce that.
Yeah, it's the KHL team.
For their incredible support and willingness to do everything necessary for Rodium's comfort. So it looks like treatment with his, I believe it's is the form of brain cancer.
Yeah.
So which is just well wishes to Rodium. I don't know if we mentioned it at the start of the season, but when they specifically had him on the bench, the Leafs, I mean, for the home opener and gave him a little moment, I thought that was really sweet of them.
Mhm.
And again, talented guy. But let's just hope he can get
Health
healthy.
first, always. Yeah.
And then hopefully he comes back and he's an incredible hockey player with a great career. But yeah, primarily get yourself better, my man. We're all rooting for you. I can't say a certain word before cancer, but F cancer. I remember before we were on Voice Ed and we could swear. Go listen to those
Yes.
episodes because
But
I
we
think
love Voice Ed.
yes, we do love Voice Ed. Great platform for the show, as we'd say. But some fun stuff, Daniel, to sort of go around here. First off, the Sens did lose last night. It was getting a little heated. There were fire DJ chants.
Mhm.
However, Ryan Reynolds was at the game. They introduced him to the crowd. He got a standing ovation. There was a buy our team chant. So, beside this, he was on the Tonight Show, I think is what it's called, with Jimmy Fallon.
Yes,
Is that Kimmel?
Jimmy. Let me check.
I don't watch late night stuff. And he was very open about the fact that he wants to buy the Sens. And he mentioned like it's very expensive and he joked he needs a sugar daddy or sugar mama to buy the team. But man, whoever ends up buying this team, I hope they bring him in at some sort of minority form.
Mhm.
Because God, he would be great for the PR of that team, wouldn't he?
Yeah, I'd like to confirm it is the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon.
There are people who are going to be listening to this saying, "You idiots! How do you not know that?"
Sorry, we don't we don't
That's
stay
not
that
our
late
group.
up.
That's not us.
Um,
It's not anime, so I don't care.
I wanted to ask this when Alex is here, but For me, the way this has been going on, by the way, I love the Deadpool head on the Sens logo. Everyone's been editing. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
that looks good.
I don't know. I was about to ask you guys like how much would you like to bet he already bought the team and just having fun with it, with the speculation? Like
What
this is
like
how I feel is going on. He's embracing it like crazy. He's going on the Tonight Show talking about it.
I
It's
feel
just
like
crazy.
I don't feel they'd be able to keep that a secret.
Oh,
What
maybe, yeah.
wait, like listen, I think we would know who the conglomerate I can't say that word.
Conglomerate?
Yeah, that I think we would know again, he's not rich enough to buy it. So I think we
No.
would know the big stakes and the guys involved. And is it Marshawn Lynch who has a minority stake in the for the Kraken? Like they brought him in just to be like, like listen, I'm sure
Yeah.
they'll throw in like what is it, 10 or 20 mil to be like part of it. But like, listen, if you buy that team and you don't bring him on, I just don't know what you're doing. Because just imagine having Ryan Reynolds on you.
Yeah, perfect, perfect media right there. You're not even paying for anything yet. He's
Then
just there.
he can bring Blake Lively to the games and it's gonna be great. You ever seen The Shallows, by the way?
I did not.
Great movie. Great
Good
movie.
movie? Okay, I'll add it to the list.
It's absurd, just like what a great couple they are, by the way.
Hmm.
And
I
like
love their
also
Instagram posts.
two obnoxiously attractive people. There's no justice in the world. It's just there's no justice. Um, are we worried? So Nikita Zaitsev got waived. Did you see that?
That one too, and Magnus Hellberg.
Who I mean, he was just there until Talbot came back anyway.
I always found it crazy. So if you look back to 2011,
Yeah.
he was the first goalie drafted. He was the first pick right before John Gibson,
Oh, who drafted him?
Nashville.
Oh, okay. Who cares then? Yeah. Oh, and who did they settle for? Some bum named UC Soros.
Yes, who I
So I think
didn't
that,
have a good game last night though.
yeah. Well, I mean, I don't think we've talked about the Preds enough. I don't think they've been awful. Again, I don't really pay too much
Bit of a level down.
endings. I mean, they were kind of whatever last year.
I think tempered expectations now. I think
I
the
need
way we're seeing
more points
Ottawa, it's
now.
like let's not get ahead of ourselves. We know that for Nashville, a hot season last year, and then for Ottawa, a great off season. But for me, I'm just trying to curb the expectations right now of what both teams can do.
I mean, to be fair, the Preds did get swept.
They did.
I mean, I'm hot on them still. I got
But we
Roman Yossi for fantasy to do well. So
we kept talking about the return of Matt Duchene.
I mean, by the way, when it comes to fantasy, how are you doing?
Right now I am 3-1.
That's not bad.
I am, pardon?
That's not bad.
Yes, I am currently facing PD revenge season. I think that's Scott Dawson.
It is, yes.
Shout out Scott Dawson. So I'm
Yeah, you're killing.
winning 130.5 to 68.
Very good. Very good. Let's see. Oh my goodness. And Donald's getting murdered by our good friend Mike. I'm up to 500. I'm happy. I'm up to 500 and I'm beating Will Baldwin, friend of the show, by 15 points right now. I've made a lot of change. I want to go back and compare my team to the start to the finish. By the way, Daniel, you had goalie problems. You dropped
did.
John Gibson, and now who's your goalie, by the way?
It is Linus Allmark, who is ranked number 1 right now.
Yeah. I don't was he a free agent?
Yes, he was. No one
How
selected
did
him.
we let that happen? How did we let that happen? So minor Vanacek. I picked up Vitek Vanacek. I had Binnington. Didn't last long. Then I picked up Stuart Skinner. Didn't last long. And somehow Vitek. Yesterday, I sat Jacob Markstrom. I sat him. And luckily, Vanacek got the win. I was shocked. Seriously, I went between Vanacek and Markstrom. Like, who do I have better faith in? I think goalie wins, man. And what's good is if McAvoy's coming back, I finally get to put him on the team. And my Marchand McAvoy bets are going to work.
They will.
Oh, I'm happy. But now I got to figure out which D I'm going to drop. It's probably going to be Spurgeon or Orlov.
All right, let me know.
Probably Spurgeon.
I'm getting breakout performances lately from players that I didn't expect to. Evgeny Kuznetsov got me 30 points in one night.
Well, was that the other day? Was that the Oilers game?
Yeah, it was 2 goals, 2 assists.
Yeah, that was
like 9 shots on. Like 9 shots on goal.
That was a fantastic game from the Caps, by the way. Do you want Robert Thomas because he has been a disappointment?
Maybe we'll talk about it.
All right, if you need a center, let me know. But I know he's gone. He's going to be gone soon. I'm very worried.
Shout out Brandon Montour because Aaron Ekblad is out. That guy is playing like 30 minutes a game.
I think, Daniel, I'm thinking that I need to get rid of God, who was it? I just completely lost track of who I'm talking about. I think I'm gonna drop Bunting because he got taken out of the top six.
Oh yeah, he's on the third line now.
Which is very upsetting. But like it's like this is like the third time I've picked him up too. Ooh, you know what, Daniel? Should I get I'm looking right now. We're gonna make a live decision here. Should I pick up Chandler Stevenson or Andre Burakovsky?
Okay, let me check. Do you need another center or you're good with just wingers?
So God, who am I dropping again? Bunting? We'll see, because Stevenson is listed as a center and both wings.
He's like listed as everything except D and goalie.
Yeah, so and he's decent with the hits. I think I'm gonna pick up Chandler Stevenson, Daniel.
Yeah.
We're gonna do that breaking right now on the show.
Breaking.
Michael Bunting is gone, if I can find his name. This is the second time I'm actually dropping him, by the way.
Also usage, because he's getting more minutes than Andre Burakovsky by almost 3 minutes.
Good. Is Stevenson playing tonight? No, he's not. Okay, cool.
Next game for him is tomorrow. It's Buffalo. Okay.
Very good. Did the notification go through?
I don't have my notifications.
Oh, here it is. Yeah. Yeah.
You got it? Okay.
Yeah. Okay. For those of you who don't care about fantasy, sorry, but we have to talk about it. Okay, there we go. You know who does that a lot? Like when there's a fantasy thing of who to drop, Mike always does it. I saw the thing of Jonathan Taves is rising, and then an hour later he picked him up. Anyway, Chris Neal is getting his number retired by the Sens, Daniel.
Yes.
The franchise leader in penalty minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to quickly get up the rest of the numbers.
And probably yells from the bench.
Definitely. For those of you who don't really know, how do we describe Chris Neal? So his career high is 33 points, and also that year he had 16 goals. Pretty good year from Chris Neal. But his total career, he did 250 points, 112 goals in 1,000 games. So he's not exactly what you would expect to be a retired number. Now, you may be shocked to hear this. I'm okay with this. Now, obviously, I did not like the idea of Dustin Brown getting a statue. So you think I'd be more protective over, jersey retirements? But I saw the video of him finding out, and I was like, okay, that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently he did a lot of stuff in the community and that. So you know what? In my old age, Daniel, with the grays coming down in my hair, I think it's fair to say I'm okay with it. And I'm happy for him.
I'm actually okay with it too, because a big thing we always talk about on the podcast is Ottawa's trying to reconnect with their community.
Yes.
Trying to find a way to have a downtown arena, try to regain their trust and hope in this rebuild or retool, whatever you want to call it right now. And Chris Neal is a perfect example of that. He transcended different eras, different GMs, different coaches with Ottawa. And I think there was like that correlation of when he eventually did retire. That's when we started to see a bit of a dark age for the Sens. Yep. I think he was there for the last hurrah for them trying to make it to the finals. I remember, this is my one specific memory of Chris Neal. It's a video, I think I could send it to you after. It's from a Hockey Night in Canada 2013 montage, like to end the playoffs. And he just screams, "Let me see how tough you are in Ottawa." Because at the time you knew that was going to be an electric crowd, an electric home crowd. It was against the Penguins in the second round. And I remember that devastating hit he had on James Neal, I believe. And I think, yeah, like that's what Chris Neal really represented with Ottawa. And to have him celebrated here, I think it's just a perfect thing to show that, hey, like, look, we're celebrating the older guys. They're coming back. And we want to show the type of guy that we want to celebrate who did a lot for the community.
You know what's really funny? He played in the MWJHL, and he played for the Orangeville Crushers. I don't know what league that is, but seeing that he played for a team in Orangeville, I like him a lot.
He won you over.
Yeah. They just need to get Daniel Albertson back involved now, and then they're good.
I think increments. They're going to go with the role players, and they're going to get to the star guys eventually.
You
coming
know
back.
who's another guy I think once he retires they'd like to bring back probably? Eric Carlson. They need to mend that fence like eventually too. Like really, really badly. Okay.
You think, okay, this is just one thing, because I know that segment was based on Chris Neal or focused on him, but do you think Eric Carlson would accept coming back to Ottawa now, the way things are and the way they're built?
So we're just gonna ignore obviously the cap hit and
Yeah, yeah.
trade, just the pure thing of would he go back to Ottawa?
Hmm. Like, has enough changed and has enough time gone by?
That's a good question. I'd like to think because I think his heart was always there,
Yeah.
which means a lot. Like he wants to win. And listen, I think there's enough there with the Sens. They're getting really unlucky with Josh Norris and that, but is there enough young talent there? I think he would.
Yeah.
I think it would mean a lot to his family and that too. Isn't his wife from Ottawa?
I believe so, yeah.
I would really like to see it. I think he would.
I think can make it
I
work.
think,
Like, what do you do?
like obviously he doesn't want to be on a rebuilder, but the Sens aren't rebuilding anymore.
See it this way. Okay. San Jose retains 50%.
So it's like, oh, Jesus Christ. So it's like, would it be like 6 point? It would be around like, no, it would
Yeah.
be five and something because it's
Yeah.
11.5. So it'd be less than his cap hit than when he was a Sun.
Yeah. And then you send, I don't know, Nikita Zaitsev or
And then a lot of picks to make
a
it.
lot of picks to make it. Tyler Boucher
Yes.
to make it work.
It would be a lot. It would be a very wild deal. Again, I mentioned it the other like last episode. I'm like, I would like to see it. I think it could happen. They need a D. Now I think you probably want a more defensive minded D than Eric Carlson. But I would really like to see it. I think it's something that should happen one. It'd be a great story. Great story for the city. Evander Kane, a very, very scary situation.
I don't like watching that video.
Yeah, so in the Oilers game last night, it looked like skate plus wrist. It's scary. The Oilers have said he's expected to miss 3 to 4 months from it. Obviously, we have not been shy in talking about Evander Kane's history. I still don't like the dude, and I don't think he should be in the NHL. However, we are human here, and I don't think and again, he has a very young family. He has kids, and the last thing I want is for a kid to lose their parents. Scary situation. I know a lot of people were making stuff of his ex-wife, putting some stuff out there. I still, I don't want anything bad to happen to another human being, even though I may not like the person. But like that was, I always say when we have still sort of skate, like what's the word? Freak accidents.
Yeah.
It's amazing it doesn't happen more often. Like we think of like how close Arturi Lehkonen was to completely, was it wasn't Nick Leddy? Who was the Islanders defense? Was it Johnny Boychuk? Who just crazed with his skate on the eye by accident. It's amazing sort of how often we actually, or sort of how rarely we actually see skate incidents like this.
There was a really gruesome one, I remember, with Montreal, I believe, if he was still there, but Richard Zednik.
Yes.
That one, I like when I was a kid, I it was so hard for me to watch that video.
It's just it's another one. It just wasn't a skate incident. Do you remember the Eric Greiba hit on Lars Eller?
Oh yeah.
Oh, that was a lot of blood too. That was a gruesome one. I loved Lars Eller as a Hab. I was Jersey.
There was another one. Well, it was a puck to the face. I remember it was when Marian Hossa had the colored visor. I think it was against the Leafs. He got a puck to the face, and then the visor shattered. Oh. And then he was holding his face. I know I'm on audio, but he was holding his face.
Yeah.
And then as he was like kind of like sliding after the hit, you could just see like a trail of blood.
Oh yeah, okay. I remember that. I remember that. Okay. Some stuff. Just keep going here. But yeah, Jesus Christ.
We wish Evander Kane.
Yeah.
Like a speedy recovery.
Yeah. So apparently Gary Bettman and Bill Daly are in Winnipeg. I have no idea why. Apparently they're in Winnipeg. And so Kevin Weeps of Sportsnet put up this little article. I just wanted to mention this point, Daniel. So Bill Daly was asked how the Miller situation, Mitchell Miller, might differ from that of Montreal Canadiens defensive prospect Logan May, as
I know
I
it was brought up
continue
a
to
lot.
read
Yeah.
this, who was charged in Sweden for sending sexually explicit photos without the consent of his partner before the NHL draft. Daily provided a bit of a revelation. Where I keep going, I don't know if you can call them partners. I don't know if they were. Anyway, it's just that's the only time I've seen them referred to as partners. Quote, and this is Daily. I think we've been clear with Logan Mayu. He's not eligible to play in our league now either, said Daly. So Montreal has made a decision with respect to Logan. Boston made a decision with respect to Miller. But neither player would be eligible without clearing with us at the time their ability and eligibility to play in the league, added Bettman, and both clubs were advised about that. So, first off, we'll see how stand pat they are on that. But I mean, good on the league for actually sort of making a stand.
I'm pretty
That's
surprised, to
very
be
quiet.
honest.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the thing. I wonder if that's. I haven't seen that reported on before today. I wonder if that's a new thing. I do wonder again what the PA are. Again, I don't want Logan Mayu as a hat. I cannot emphasize that enough. I don't think he deserves it. Again, second chance is short. It shouldn't be with an NHL team. I'll continue to say that. Um, but I thought that very interesting. I wanted to mention that. So again, does he push to make an NHL roster next year? Year from now, sorry, a year after that, who knows? But I think that's a conversation that's going to happen.
I always forget because Logan, it's different because I know he was a first round pick and
Yep.
he told them don't draft me.
Yeah, he told the whole league.
Yeah,
They're
don't draft me.
listen. Yeah.
I always just thought like what were the original projections on him? Because remember with Mitchell Miller, it was we overlooked it because he was supposed to go in like the mid-second round.
Yeah.
Like with like the mock drafts, where was Logan Mayu supposed to go?
To be honest, Daniel, that was a draft I didn't pay a lot of attention to. I didn't even recognize his name. I when I heard Logan Mayu, when I saw the panel go very quiet, I'm like, what is this? And then I heard but I remember seeing about this player who's withdrawn himself from the draft. And then when they started explaining it, I went, oh God, don't tell me you've actually gone and done this. Thanks, Bergevin. Thank you so much for leaving us with that.
I'd like to say that
in that for keeping him around and giving him an ELC.
I remember they mentioned because they needed a defenseman, and crazy thing is Nolan Allen was the next pick, and he's expected to make the World Junior team this year.
Daniel, as I have said, and I will never shut up about this, the video before the draft, I said they lost Cale Fleury in the expansion draft, and the same week they found out Shea Weber was never playing again. They needed a right-handed D, and they got one. That's my theory, and I will believe it till the day I die. That's 100% what it was. And Bergevin had a history of drafting for position in the first round, i.e. Esperi Kotkaniemi. I'm telling you that.
I.e. Michael McCarron.
Yes.
Because they needed size.
Oh, God, yeah. I will die on the hill that that's why they did it. 100%. Logan's, I forget, like, even just the D thing. Logan Stankoven was there. Remember that DM got late where he's like, yeah, they chose the other Logan. It was like, oh, God. Oh, you idiots. But talking about the Habs, I think they've been punching above their weight in the way of Caulfield, Suzuki, and Doc just score the hell out of it. Goalies saved them, but they kind of get like killed defensively. So that's going to even itself out eventually.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, so Matt Luff gets hurt after Uri. So he's out 10 to 12 weeks with surgery to do with an upper body injury. This is from a Uri Slafkovsky hit that was very much like the Josh Anderson hit on Alex Pietrangelo. Anderson got 2 games. Same with Slafkovsky. Again, both got games out of it. Like throwing out 5-minute majors. Completely agree with the hit. I thought it was very dangerous. And it's the first time I've ever really seen Slafkovsky. Like, it's funny. Shouldn't say it's funny. He could have used more force, but he still should know that size, that position. And again, with the force he did use, that's such a dangerous, unnecessary hit to do.
Yeah, it was an awkward place for Matt Luff to be in, and to use that amount of force on him when it's basically his head turned to him. I don't know. That's like we use it a lot, but that is a rookie mistake. That was something that it was unnecessary for how the game was going and how that play was at the time.
It was dirty. It was dirty. Yeah. It was especially when, again, you saw one of your teammates kind of pull the exact same hit. I'm surprised it was only 2 games because of the injury, maybe like first time offender and all that. But again, it's sort of like you don't want to see that Slav. This is because Rem Pitlick was waived. I think it's pretty clear to say that Sapkowski's staying around for a while.
Hmm.
Just to know on his development, though, I think he's been getting a lot better with his decision making.
He
Which
has
sometimes
been.
I feel like he'd be a little lost, but I do think you can see him getting better, which is good to see. Again, makes a good first pass and stuff like that. So let's just
Does he
hope
finish this?
in.
Does he finish the season with the Habs, or does he go for a few games in
I
Laval?
think they would love that. Like, I mean, you just look at it again. They would rather have a difficult conversation with Rem Pitlick than send down Slav. I think that tells you all you need to know. By the way,
Okay.
Mike Hoffman 2 goals last night. I've never once said anything bad about him, and you
No, not at all.
can't prove it. You he just so fun fact that was Eric Angles tweeted this out. That was Montreal's first win of the season without a point in regulation from either Suzuki or Caulfield.
That's
Now
surprising.
they had both the shootout goals. But it's you know what, Daniel? I actually think I took a screenshot of how much exactly before the Detroit game. I can't find it, but it was exactly how much of Montreal's offense they were contributing. Sorry, that didn't make sense, but you know what I mean.
Contributing, yes.
So it's actually it's going to figure out the rest of the roster. But if anyone had sort of any things of saying, they're going to make the playoffs, no, they're not going to
You
do
know
that.
what's reminding me of? I've just because it's a random stat I was looking at. You know when you go through the black hole of random stats, or just things you like to look at if you're buying vintage merch, something I personally do.
Yeah, okay, yes, you
It's
do.
yes, it's reminding me of the late '90s Mighty Ducks, where I think like more than 60%. I don't know if this is the right number that I did say, but it is more than 50. It was like 60% or 65% or more of the Ducks offense came from Solani in Korea because they didn't fill in the team yet.
Now, we can accept this from the Habs, obviously, because they are rebuilding. But whenever Suzuki and Caulfield sort of projection, again, I think you remember how Dom Decisions had that article about the 10 worst contracts, and you had Suzuki, I think, at 9, and he said himself in the article, I expect this to be wrong. But I think him and Jay Fresh have gotten a little. Oh, excuse that. Oh God, gotta do my eye exercises in a second. But I think him and Jay Fresh have gotten a little sick and tired of Habs fans. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and they were going about a shooting percentage and whatnot. What do you realistically sort of think for Nick Suzuki production wise is realistic? And also let fans be happy. The
I'll
Habs
say
can be happy.
he's gonna finish with more than 75 points.
So I think his career high is like 64. So I could see that. Again, he's going to get all the power play time with Cole as he wants, but
I'll say 78 points.
his career high is 61, by the way. And he's at
Okay.
15 in 13 right now.
What's your projection?
Um, 70 is a good plateau to go.
Hmm.
He could probably hit. I don't know if I doubt he'll hit 30 goals. He's at 8, but that will cool down. Like if he can do like 25 in that, like think of it. If Caulfield can pot 40, then like I think it's safe to say Suzuki playing with him is gonna hit it. So fun fact, remember how we talked about Kirby Doc being 21?
Hmm.
Suzuki's the oldest member of that line at 23. That's hilarious. He's 24 in August. Like that's hilarious how young they are. By the way, shout out to Mike picking up Kirby Doc. He took my fantasy advice.
He does. See, he listens.
And he does. Game against the Canucks. It's in half an hour. What are you expecting? Both teams back to
Um,
back in
I think
Montreal.
Vancouver is going to take a 4-1 lead into the third, and they're going to lose 5-4 in overtime.
Who gets the overtime winner?
Um, why not Nick Suzuki?
Well, are you that scared of the Canucks right now, or for them because they've been such a mess?
I don't know. It just okay. It was not funny, but it was kind of comical to see how many blown leads they were going to have. But then it's become a bit of a norm. So it's funny. There's a guy I know. It was when I was at U of T. He's a huge Canucks fan, and he used to play. I think he used to play junior hockey, I believe,
Mm-hmm.
and he wore his Canucks jersey with his brother, I believe, at the Sens game last night. And I think his Instagram like caption was waiting to see if they blow another lead.
And then luckily, at least they beat Ottawa.
They beat Ottawa.
So Jim Rutherford's bothering me here a bit. I don't think it's very good for you to constantly be taking public shots at your coach the way he's been doing with Bruce Boudreau.
Yeah.
If you want to fire him, hurry up and do it. What message is he sending to the locker room? Is he sending to Bruce Boudreau, who was really funny when he's like, "Yeah, I've seen this all before. It's going to be part of a book I'm not going to write."
Oh, that was all time
I
quote. I
love
love that
Bruce
one.
Boudreau. I love that guy so much. I just don't. I don't think it's at the end. I just don't think it's very professional from Jim Rutherford. And I don't know what Francesco Aquilini was saying, but if I own the team, I tell him to shut up. Now I know he wasn't your coach, but he's the one you have. Again, like, listen, no offense, but a defense core of Ekman Larson at this point in his career, Tyler Myers, Hughes is good, fair enough. Luke Schenn, fine player. Ethan Bear, who I think we're still sort of iffy on, you know that. And Jack Rathbone, how exactly to you, and again, is Tucker Pullman and Travis Dermott really going to change that? How is that as your back end enough to be a competitive team?
It's a lot of money, but yeah, that won't make you competitive in any way.
And the quote about, yeah, so Bo Horvat, we'd like to keep him, but the way he's playing, we can get more for trading him.
Oh my gosh, when
Like, what is Horvat supposed to think of that? What are you doing to your fans? This after, by the way, it's like, hey, you know what we're going to do this offseason? We're going to get some cap space. You know what we're going to do, though? We're going to sign JT Miller and Ilya Mikheyev. Like, shut up. What are you doing?
oh
What is
my
your
gosh.
thought process? Maybe you did this in Pittsburgh. You can't do this in Vancouver. What the hell are you thinking?
I just remember when everyone said Jim Rutherford's thinking aloud.
Yes.
Literally, like it's crazy when like if I'm Bo Horvat and I'm the captain, I'm seeing this thinking, am I really gonna commit to this long term? Where the way the negotiations have been going, where if you're gonna think that, don't say it
Dogs losing.
to the media. I don't understand from a player perspective, why would you be there for the long haul of things, especially where I think I think Vancouver's had their chance. I'm not saying they're going to rebuild anyway, but I think they've had their chance with Bo Horvat to kind of show we can build a winner, and it's really not the case. Like Thatcher Demko, not sure what's going on there.
Yeah, no, not a good start to the year. Daniel, they're choosing to dress Jack Stadnicka.
Our
He's
boy
been a meme on this podcast for years.
was waiting for him to break out.
Man, I don't think it's gonna happen. I don't think it's gonna happen, man. I just don't. Jim Rutherford's rubbing me the wrong way, man. I don't like him. Another matchup, man. They need to advertise better because I didn't know this was happening until you told me. There is nothing quite like seeing Ovechkin and Crosby play against each other. It's tonight. You pointed out to me they both have 1,423 points.
Yeah, which is insane.
And I don't think it's a surprise to anyone to say, man, they're good players, aren't they? It's just sort of whenever we go on about like the league's getting younger, it's just let's just quickly look at their seasons. So Crosby's 14 points in 12 games. Ovechkin is at 13 points in 14 games, 8 goals. By the way, Ovechkin has that 1,423 in 1,288 games. Crosby has it in the 1,120. So, of course, significantly less games. But you know what, Daniel? We're only going to see this matchup a couple more times in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
I think we got to appreciate it. Like, again, Crosby 35, Ovechkin 37. You see that play Ovi had where he nearly like brute force spun around and scored?
Yeah.
Man, he's so good. It's just man, these are special. I'm
like
gonna miss these guys when they're gone.
it's like a friendship rivalry, like a rivalry kind of thing.
They've definitely come to respect each other. They used to back in the day. I remember they don't like each other.
It's like a classic. I don't know. It's like a classic. I don't know if like we were both not born, but Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, where like they were the faces of the league for so long, and they did help grow the game. It's just I don't know, because like I'm thinking like, is there a McDavid counterpart?
People would say Matthews, but what makes it so special with them is that they were in the same division and they
Yeah,
for their and the playoff
the
matchups.
playoffs. Yeah,
I don't think McDavid quite has that yet. I mean, who have been like even McKinnon? Like we can't even really. Again, the problem is if you want to compare him to Matthews, who you could argue is the second best player behind McDavid, is having them on other sides of the conference, and it's not like they go at each other the way Ovechkin and Crosby have. Yeah, I mean, who is McDavid's biggest pain in his butt? Nazem Kadri? Like, you know what I mean? It's just sort of, it's a shame we don't have that.
yeah.
Especially because it's not like McDavid's, the zesties on the ice and lets his cock in him his head with shoulder, but
No.
it's just me. Or elbow, sorry. But yeah, it's gonna
Mhm.
be, I don't know, yeah, it could have been Kachuk if he probably had stuck around
If he
long
stuck around, yeah.
go away. But I don't know, maybe Nas can sort of fill that, even though the Flames need to win some games and play some defense, which I didn't think we were gonna say at the start of the year. But
They were your cup winner, right? That was
no,
your pick?
Alex.
Alex. Okay. Yeah.
I don't remember who I even said was gonna win the cup.
I think I said Tampa, and then Mike called me out on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He does that to everyone. But people watch Ovi and Sid because they're amazing. To finish the Leafs, they come up short against the Vegas Golden Knights.
That was pretty bad.
Well, so obviously couldn't watch it because of watching my team play. Even though I only watched the first two periods because I went to bed because I had work today, so kind of needed to
I
sleep.
mean, okay, they got the lead,
Yeah,
and then they got gassed in the third.
I saw that. Was it
And
Riley had the shorthanded? Riley Smith had the.
shorthanded goal on. Yeah, that was a bad power play. They didn't really set it up too well. Got tired, and then I don't know, like what was going on. In overtime, 3-on-3. Like, why is the Marner, Matthews, Riley trio not working? Like, it hasn't worked. They've been on the ice for quite a few of the overtime losses.
Are you
They're quick.
concerned that the Bruins game, people were saying maybe the Bruins were a bit sort of thingy going on with Mitchell Miller. The Canes game was the Shalgren show, which who thought we'd say that? Are you concerned about the Leafs, even though what is it, technically a 5-game point streak right now? 4 wins before that?
Yeah, true. Like, there's not too much of a concern. It's just not saying patchwork in a way, but it just, they're hobbling with injuries, with, finding the right matchups early in the season. They're still winning, but we're not seeing, you know what I mean? We're not seeing them at their full strength, I think.
I don't like seeing Kerfoot on the top line. I'm kind of like, okay, great. It's nice to see Robertson back in the lineup, and maybe he should stay there. I've been seeing, but it's like it's tough to see that Liljegren comes back, obviously against the Bruins. The game, and then last night's game, I saw he had a pair of goals, and then you lose. Like, yeah, you can't lose a game when you have a pair of goals from your defense. And even though the Sharks did lose when Carlson had a hat trick the other day, but that's beside the point. So Matt Murray is apparently skating.
Yeah.
Could be. I think they said they're not ruling him out to play this weekend. Am I right? See?
Yeah, it might be the weekend game. So I think maybe Shalgren gets Pittsburgh.
And well, I mean, to be fair, they have been very bad.
They haven't been good.
Yeah, they have not been great. Jeff Petrie, how are you? But Ilya Samsonov is week to week, which I always say is the worst thing to hear about an injury because
he wasn't at practice.
So a couple weeks probably. Will Murray and Samsonov play more than one game as a tandem with one of them on the bench? It's been what one?
Wait, it's only been one game. Yeah, it's only been the first game.
Yeah. Go Habs, go! Big win that game. I remember that was fun. That was really anything on the Leafs you want to mention quickly? It's just again, like, I know you want to talk about Carolina. I'm like, it's been too long, but I mean,
that was a solid win.
Go ahead.
We curbed Frederick Anderson's revenge, so I think that was a good game. You beat another contender, but I think the one thing is just I don't think we mentioned it last game, but it was congrats to Keith Petruzzelli.
Oh yeah, he got his contract.
That's his NHL contract.
The video of it being announced to the Marlies locker room was really good.
More of those, please. By the way, please, more of those. I love those.
We saw it in the preseason with who was it? Nashville said it to. Cody Glass. I
Hmm.
think the Wild did it with Marco Rossi.
Yeah,
It's cool content.
it is great.
They should use.
Like I know, like it's not the I don't know, it's not the hardest thing to show, and it's not the longest thing. So, but it adds, it adds value to the fan experience that I really like.
Again, that's what helps with the Chris Neal thing with the Suns. We got to
Yeah.
see his reaction. Um, Daniel, that does appear to be everything.
Hmm.
Um, Fun show, good show.
Yeah, good show.
Um, I'm tired, my friend. I'm tired.
It has been a long day for both of us.
Yeah, my back hurts. I'm gonna feel that when I wake up tomorrow. Yeah, we gotta figure out a name for the show. But anyway,
We will.
thank you for listening. We'll see you next time when it'll just be the two of us, which is Daniel. It'll be fun.
It will be
Alex,
fun.
we'll miss you. And until next time, we're gone.